Now, before I dive too far into the topic about which I am going to be talking today, I want to make clear a few things first off. The crew who are working on Amphibia are passionate and hardworking, and I do not want to deny that. They are doing everything in their power to make this show as close to the vision created by the showrunner and the writers as they possibly can. I am consistently in awe of the technical work that goes into even shows I'm more lukewarm about, and I am far more than lukewarm about Amphibia. And also, I would like to say that there is no one model for making a successful season of television, and I do not want to speak against a particular season of a particular show just because it does not conform to one's preconceived notions of what that show should be. Nonetheless, this does not mean refusing the impulse to provide criticism. Being only positive is the attitude of a fanboy or a fundamentalist, and I am neither. I genuinely enjoy this show, and I also evaluate it critically, and I feel the need and the responsibility to be honest and forthright about how I feel about the show and its third season thus far. These third season episodes have been alright. They are not bad, they are not disgraceful. There are not any of these other overblown words that so many people on YouTube use to describe shows they don't like. These episodes are competent. There is a clear conflict set up at the beginning of the episode, and by the ending of the episode, that conflict has been brought to some sort of resolution. There is setup, and there is payoff, and there is a clear set of ideas conveyed. It feels cathartic. Now, I don't want to be too reductionist as to say there's just a single message or a single moral of the story, but there is a clear idea of what the show is trying to say with these little episodes, and it says it quite well. I also want to say that I feel a little uncertain about making judgments concerning Season 3 thus far, because we are only 1/4 of the way into it. We are only 1/2 of the way into the first half season of this third and final season of Amphibia. I do not have the necessary amount of information at this point to make a full judgment about the third season. That will come later. But I do believe I should speak forthrightly about what I view as the shortcomings of the first 4 episodes of this third season, or rather the first 4 22-minute segments, considering that 3 of those segments are split into 2 episodes apiece. Now, if Amphibia wanted to be a lighthearted, pleasant, relatively unchallenging adventure show, that would have been alright. And in fact, that is the mode it takes for a good portion of its Season 1 runtime. There is a general goal that's being worked toward, but there's no anguish or despair. There is conflict, but there is no sense of danger. Real feelings that everything, at least for now, is not going to work out alright. That there are not going to be clean and easy resolutions. If the show went down that route, people who like more lighthearted, more rather simplistic adventure storytelling, and I mean that not as a pejorative, not with any of the negative contexts attached to the word simple, that would be fine. People would like it. There's always room for more comedic shows like that. I would be indifferent to it, and the world would continue to spin. However, the show has drifted away significantly from that original model. And I do believe that the show is at its best when it does drift away from that model. It is not always the case that the more dramatic and challenging and dark episodes of a show are its best, but I do believe that is the case in Amphibia. My favorite episode of this show thus far remains Reunion, the Season 1 finale. Sasha reunites with Anne at the conclusion of Season 1 in Anne of the Year, and then Sasha presents her plan to Anne that she's going to take Anne into the little toad military she's worked her way up to the head of, and from that position she'll find a way to get the both of them home. But Anne is not okay with this because by this point she has formed very close ties with the frogs that are in direct opposition to the toads. Sasha believes naively that Anne will just listen to her, but Anne is not the person she once was, and she calls Sasha out, and Sasha is kind of terrified. Not of Anne, but of the idea that she's been a bad friend, that she has not been doing everything in her power to help her friend as well as she could have been. Confronted with the possibility that she could have been a lot better, she breaks down to the point that she is willing to die in order to help Anne live. Sasha loses all her connection to the will to live, to the desire to keep herself alive. She's not suicidal necessarily, but she's not suicidal either, and that's rather disquieting. Season 2 returns to lighthearted adventuring, which is a little jarring, but considering that's the mode Season 1 was mostly in, it's hard to object too harshly to that. But then the show's tone shifts when we introduce Marcy. She has been flourishing here in Amphibia. She's been taken in by the king and made one of his most loyal and trusted advisors. She's been a major reformer in the city, helping the military, repelling all threats to Newtopia, but also fixing things like the sewer system and actively working to improve the everyday lives of the people of Newtopia. And meanwhile, Sasha is still trying to reckon with Anne's decision at the end of Season 1. And over the course of the season, Sasha becomes much more willing to confront her own flaws and try to become a more helpful and thoughtful friend to Anne, someone who cares about not just what Sasha thinks would be best for Anne, but what Anne actually thinks is best for herself. And the three of them soon journey to the temples. These are Legend of Zelda-like structures where they have to complete a series of challenges to get the gem as the reward. But that's not the real focus. The real focus is on the slowly fracturing friendships between these three girls. Anne still has a lot of trepidation towards Sasha, which is perhaps reasonable, but it kind of hurts considering how earnest Sasha really is, whatever else she might say, about trying to be the kind of friend that she has always tried to be in her own misguided way. But then that kind of falls apart because Sasha feels a loyalty toward the Toads. She doesn't want to go home, unlike Anne, and Marcy has never wanted to go home. She's the one who took them to Amphibia in the first place, and she loves it here. It's much better than the anxiety and resentment that build up in her every day in her home life. So we have these three girls with three very different perspectives, and they have a falling out. That's really what it is at the heart of it. I mean, obviously, the focus quickly turns to Andreas' megalomaniacal plans, but even if Andreas had not been evil, the three of them still would have come to a crossroads in their friendship. And after the tragic fallout from that results in Marcy's death, the three of them are left drifting. This, unlike Reunion, is not something you can just come back from. It's not something you can downplay the consequences of. this matters. This second season finale, True Colors, is not an isolated incident, but the build-up of the entire back half of Season 2. And it leads to the three of them being in a very awkward and uncomfortable position with a lot of real issues they need to work out. Issues that cannot be smoothed over with a few lighthearted platitudes and a few plucky adventures. So for the events of True Colors to be downplayed like they have been thus far in Season 3, in favor of more lighthearted, relatively warm-hearted adventures, that feels a little dissonant and a little disappointing, like the show is shying back from the true consequences it unleashed at the end of True Colors. The Lord of the Rings does not respond to Boromir's death by having Sam and Frodo just ignore it and go and frolic through the daisies. Even Harry Potter gets this right, whatever my problems with that series. After Cedric's death at the end of The Goblet of Fire, Harry undergoes a deep depression. He feels isolated and alone. No one else was there to watch Cedric die, but he was. And that marks an end of innocence for Harry. Because of him, both because of the legend of Harry Potter and because he was not strong enough to stop Voldemort from killing Cedric, Cedric is dead. And Harry was unable to stop that from happening. You can still have fun adventures after this point, but those adventures, as we see in The Order of the Phoenix, are clouded by the after effects of that death. A threshold has been crossed, and pretending it hasn't, pretending these grisly, macabre events do not have consequences, is not the best route for Amphibia to take. Now, I'm not saying I need every episode in Season 3 to relate back to the horror and discomfort unleashed by the end of True Colors, but I want that discomfort to linger. I want it to have significance. I want those feelings of alienation, of disquiet, of anxiety, of not knowing what the future is going to hold, to linger. I want at least a few episodes to be suffused with the kind of heartfelt, desperate longing that results from the fracturing of their relationship and their perceptions of each other at the end of Season 2. So far, in Season 3A, there has been a pattern to these Amphibia episodes. Anne meets someone, she's not sure how she feels about them, but ultimately all is resolved positively. Dr. Jan is not, as far as we know, some sort of evil scientist. She's genuinely helpful. When the planters keep messing up and hop till you drop and adventures in cat sitting, the Boon Choys are always there to reassure them. I want some crack in that reassurance. I want some indication that this presentation, that everything is alright and that there is no lingering sense of danger or anxiety. I want that facade to crack. And because it hasn't yet, and because there has been such an unceasing feeling of positivity, of untroubled calm, with only a few minor variations from that are of the sort of, oh, Anne's really exhausted, not, oh, Anne is miserable and depressed. I feel that the season is missing something. I feel that it's a little clunkier than it should have been, and I hope it improves going forward. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope what I'm saying was clear. I do not want or need the show to become The Leftovers. I just wanted to reckon with the actual consequences of what the show itself made happen. But if you disagree, feel free to comment in the discussions. Just be civil. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.